So the first thing we're going to look at is the confusion, the common misconceptions. So what I'd like to start by maybe touching on is there confusion in the marketing function? Are marketing operations clear in most companies? The processes, are individual marketing rules also clear in marketing? I don't know what your experience is, but you can also put it in the chat as we go along so that we can come back to it later. So there are several common branding misconceptions, some of which obviously that you will be aware of, but there are also others that, when I was looking around. So for the first thing, that the most common misconception, you'll agree with me, is marketing is about a logo. So what does that mean? A brand equals a logo. And once I have a logo, you hear people saying, I want to set up my brand. That's it. Now, we know that in reality, a brand is, the logo is simply one aspect of the whole branding space. It's all about perception. How your brand is perceived by the people for whom you're branding for. That is to say, your customer, your consumer. That's what matters. The other misconception is it's for large companies. No, it's not. A lot of you here today joining this webinar probably are interested in putting together your companies, starting something small, which may later become a huge company. So it's not for large companies. It's about differentiation. That's something that gets lost when we talk about branding. So what are we talking about? Differentiation is how do people tell you, your personal brand, your company brand, your product brand, versus all the other brands in the same space. Then it's a marketing tactic. It's not. Branding is a strategic discipline. That also gets lost. And today we'll look at maybe some of the differences and the areas that make that a strategic discipline. Now, what are the common communication misconceptions? The most common is that it's one way. Well, that's not true, because it's a two-way street. And I think even the events that are going on in the country at the moment will let you know that if you communicate one way, nobody is hearing you, you're only hearing yourself. So it's a two-way street. The other misconception is that the more communication you do, the better. No, it's not. What matters is it effective? If the more you communicate, can only be better if you're being effective and you're being able to effectively engage to the person to whom, or the persons to whom, that communication is expected to reach. The other misconception is that communication is to persuade. And especially this is a misconception, especially within the sales fraternity, who say, no, you guys are not communicating. I'm not being able to sell. Not really. Communication is more than just persuasion. It's about relationships. Are you developing a relationship with your consumer, with your customer, with your audience? So basically, those are just to get us started today. We are looking at misconceptions for those of you who've just joined us. And we've looked at the brand misconceptions, communication misconceptions. Now we are looking at marketing misconceptions. So what about marketing? Yeah, so when we're talking about marketing misconceptions, we are, to continue from brand misconceptions, communication misconceptions, now we are looking at marketing misconceptions. We are talking about the most misunderstood part about marketing. That marketing is just advertising. Now, we know that's not true. There's a lot more to marketing. Actually, marketing is about strategy. It's the thinking behind how are we going to tackle this problem? What are we going to do? Yes, advertising may be one of the solutions, but it's normally just one small aspect. Then the other misconception is that it's all about creativity. I didn't know you're creative, you're in marketing. Creativity comes at the tail end. the beginning of marketing, where the thinking happens, is really about data-driven analysis so that you can make data-driven decisions. The other misconception is that it's about pushing sales. And I think there's always this, we like joking about it as marketers, that between sales and marketing, there's usually a tug of war. Really, marketing is not just about pushing sales, it's about creating demand. So what does that mean? If you do marketing very well, what that means is that you're going to create demand. It will be easier for the sales team to sell, which is why you need to have data-driven analysis, and then it needs to be approached from a strategic perspective. So to continue, now let's land at some of the key concepts that we were looking at during this webinar, which is belief branding.